Hello everyone and welcome back to Fableheimr and the Shenanigans playthrough here in MISTOVER. Today is a great day. Today is patch 1.0.7 for realsies. And it's a big patch. But before we get into all of the patch notes and everything that I need to talk about regarding it, we are here to accept some quests from Stella. Now we're going to be doing a 2-in-1 once more because both of these can be completed in the Ancient Nest, which is the final zone this time. So we're going to accept the quest Residents of the Frozen Mountain, which should just be a simple extermination. I sure am, Stella. We have discovered that the Elder Ones use a hideout somewhere deep beneath the Frozen Mountains. But to get there, we must cross a place filled with relics. I do like relics. This area is protected by hordes of giant albinos and cavemen. You need to defeat them to gain control. Do your best to defeat the giant albinos and cavemen. I shall. But now, more importantly, the main quest line to track down Duke Heinrich. Finally, the time has come. We must go to Duke Heinrich and hear his story. That's gonna be a lot of talking for me, huh? It's unclear why he disappeared so abruptly again. However, he does not seem to have any malicious intentions. Duke Heinrich said he'd be waiting for you in the depths of the Frozen Mountains. Go meet him underground. Learn what secrets he has to tell you, and then return. I kind of cut her off at the end, but okay, those are our two quests for today, and we have a lot to talk about with the patch. So first things first, let's hop into it before we head into the expedition, and that is the new addition to the gameplay settings. These are far more robust than I thought they were going to be, and they are editing you can do to individualize your run or campaign, and as you can see, it can be done mid-game. I thought you'd have to like recreate the game or something, but no, whenever you feel like it, you can just turn off the doomsday clock, which is nice. And the little text box to the right of it tells you what the default is or what the standard is based on your hard mode or your difficulty setting. So that's really convenient. So you can turn on and off the doomsday clock. You can also disable limbo if you feel like it. This is what happens when someone reaches 0 HP. They won't just immediately die. They will remain in a state of limbo, which you can heal them out of if you reach it within 3 turns. And they will receive the limbo after effect debuff, which reduces their overall stats. But I'm assuming if you turn this off, it just means if you reach 0 HP, you die. You dead. For real. So you can turn it on or off. And when you turn something on or off, as you can see at the top, it will say plus a certain number. So say if we turn limbo off, that's adding 24 something difficulty. If we turn doomsday clock off, that's reducing the difficulty by 14. Because now you can bring like a level 20 person to a level 1 zone. And the game doesn't care. Next is battle resources. This will enable unlimited resource, such as mana, spirit, yen. So I thought it was key. Whatever. So unlimited resources. You can spam all your abilities. Ignore formation. This removes the restrictions for abilities. So you can now use Devil's Eye on the final column if you want to. Would you? I don't know. But you can. The next ones are all immunities to various effects. Bleeding, silence, stun, immobilization, weaken. This is pretty OP. Apparently for weaken from critical hit is an exception. So even if you turn this off, you will still lose speed if you get crit. The rest of them have no exceptions. Okay. Show the entire map. This will remove the fog of war, so you don't have to guess where you're going. But I'm going to leave all the settings the way they should be. Well, the way that they are by default. So I'm not going to be changing anything, but the fog of war, removing that's pretty useful. Now this one I don't exactly understand. But these are the patrol monsters, which I think are just... I don't actually know. Patrol monsters appear and they attract other monsters. Default, they appear on second run, but if on, it applies to your first run. I don't know what that means, but apparently turning it off doesn't change the difficulty at all. Just turning it on adds 3 difficulty. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to leave it as original. The next one, SP per level up. Now this is hilarious, because it can go up to 5, which basically just means when you level up, you get 5 skill points. Hello? And on that note, the max number of skills. Now this changes the max amount of abilities you are able to bring with you to combat. So 5 is the default, you get your free auto attack and then 4 abilities that you have to choose. But you can set it all the way up to 8, which is all of the abilities that a character can learn. So you can bring everything, if you want. Which is a fun thought. Next is the monster vision range. This is from how far away the enemies will see you. I'm assuming you aren't in some sort of hidden thing. The default is 3, which is where we're going to keep it. Apparently it can be 0 or 5. If it's 0, do they just not see you at all? Are they just blind? I thought. Monster Resurrect turn is how many turns it takes for a monster to resurrect. Remember, when a monster resurrects, they're gray, which means you do not get any experience or reward for fighting them whatsoever. Apparently on easy, they don't respawn at all. On normal, it's 150 turns, and on hard, it is 100 turns. The next one is HP recovery rate. This is how quickly you recover HP, presumably out of combat. Recovery rate is 100% of max HP, okay. On all difficulties, that is 2%. The MP recovery rate, same thing, but for mana. On easy, apparently, it's 10%, normal and hard, it is 5%. The next 3 have to do with formation collapse. This is when you run into an enemy, or the enemy, when the enemy runs into you, whether your formation will just randomly break. Wide, normal, and narrow, which is based on the amount of luminosity that you have. For wide formation collapse, it is not possible on easy or normal, and there's a 15% chance on hard. For normal formation collapse, 0% chance on easy, 15% chance on normal, 30% chance on hard. And for narrow collapse, which is when you have no luminosity, you're guaranteed to collapse on all difficulties. The level of rescue crew members, this is whenever you rescue someone inside of an expedition, what their level will be. Apparently, by default for all difficulties, it is 85% of the area's difficulty. So I think we rescue level 11s at the moment. This would be an easy way to get new crew members that are, already at your level. Number of monsters, number of traps, number of debris, and number of light flowers. They're all 100% by default. Item contamination, this is when you bring items with you into expeditions and don't use them. There is a 50% chance of them not being corrupted. Fun fact, it used to be 0, but now the default is 50 on all difficulties. Damage when attacked, this is basically just the amount of damage that you take. On easy, it's 70%, normal is 100%, and hard is 120%. Monster HP, pretty self-explanatory. On easy, 70%, normal 100%, and hard 120%. And attack damage on all difficulties is 100%. It's really screwing yourself over if you start nerfing this. It can go up to 400%? Ooh. I kind of want to see what Dara's crit damage is at 400%. But I know, we'll leave it 100. And chance of battle escape by default on all difficulties is 50%. That kind of makes me value jinxes that allow you to escape more. But I think I've fled from battles like twice in my entire life, so maybe not. Alright. Those are all the changes for the gameplay settings. I will touch on this again near the end with some questionable news. Just a bit of a tease there. Alright, let's head into the Frozen Mountains, the Ancient Nest, to go find Heinrich. We looked at these last time, but all of them kind of suck. Except for here, which is okay. Mountain Toughness is a good way to boost your HP. Thanks, Dada. And we are heading into a large map, so we're bringing lots of food. Lots and lots of food. We're also bringing some seeds, because apparently I get lost really easily. And I'll bring some potions, because why not? Some large potions. Okay, let's head out. This will be our first time in the Ancient Nest. Evil must be punished. Now remember, the size of large maps were reduced some time ago, so it's not, the most terrifying thing in the world. But it is still something we should tread with caution. Now moving on to the other changes, there were a sizable amount of combat changes. And the first one apparently doesn't really matter. But it has to do with monster formations, and I touched on this in the... Am I speeding here? Sure. I touched on this in the preview episode, which was... Huh. There it goes. Ever since that one patch, the screen will turn black on your first turn, black and white for your first turn. But, I guess it went away. Anyway, moving on. For the formations, I touched on this last time, but in the Misty Forest now, there will Huh, I got 2 key for being crit. In the Misty Forest, there will no longer be enemies in the final column. They will all be in the first or second column. I should overflowing here. But I should also move. We're gonna move. Because Rune's here. Yay! And in all other dungeons... We don't have bleed, right? In all other dungeons, the chance of more than one enemy being in the final column has been reduced by a lot. So, the fact that we saw 2 in the final column on our very first fight is kind of surprising. Is that a sign? I don't know. Whoosh. Bye, enemy. This is one of the Vwop Vwop enemies, so it takes 2 turns to move, and then it moves twice. Let us see. Oh yes, they also changed the enemy formations so that it's easier to hit them with various cooperative abilities. So what I'm assuming they mean is that they've made it so that enemies are more likely to either be all in a column or all in a row, like they are here, where the penguin is forward and then there's 2 gargoyles, even though that has kind of just been the way they've been. So far we have encountered none of the formation changes. And Rune moved on her own. Great. Lovely. Oh, and they pushed him forward. Great. What's fun? I think that was... Wait a minute. Yeah, those are all the changes for the formation. So, that was it. They're good changes overall, I think. When I first read about them changing how many monsters would appear in the final column, I thought it was just reducing it in general, which I wasn't really a fan of, but I think this change is okay. It is acceptable. Oh, I should have hit the other one. That was a 1200 crit. Ow. The next change is one that I unfortunately won't be able to test at all anymore. But they have changed... Let me read the exact wording here. Some boss monsters' resistances to various effects, they didn't list them, have been changed. So the following bosses are no longer immune to all effects. Those bosses are the Great Worm, Koshé, Orbis Brain, Hive Mind, and Lord Frost. Which means you might actually be able to weaken or stun them or immobilize them or do whatever else. Now, I've been asking for that for a while because in our hard playthrough, we used the Grim Reaper religiously. And I thought it was kind of dumb that you couldn't debuff bosses. That and because bosses were immune to bleeding, bleed compositions were just completely worthless. Not entirely worthless, but you know what I mean. You couldn't use it on bosses, so why would you even build a group composition around it? Now, remember, the Orbis Brain was the only boss in the game that could be moved. So they must have added another weakness to him. And the final boss of the game is not listed there. So ultimately, you will still need to just punch the last boss really hard. You can't weaken or bleed him or anything. Thoughts to keep in mind. Where the heck are the silver keys? Oh, I found an enemy. Oh, it's all albino thingies. Alright, hold on. I'm not going to have 5 of them go... Well, I guess we are. I was going to say I'm not going to have 5 enemies go in a turn, but they're still going in a turn. Since I get to go first. Okay. Onwards. And there was one bug fix. This will be the last thing before we get into the many skill changes. There was one bug fix. I'm going to do this to myself. And if you have a keen eye, you might have seen one of the changes. But shh, don't steal my thunder. One of the one and only bug fix was occasionally there were times when the Korean voice actors would cut out, and that has been fixed. Again, we'd never seen that because I use the Japanese voice actors, because I actually understand some Japanese and I understand approximately 0 Korean. But if you enjoyed the Korean voice, there you go. it's fixed. Have fun. I think we can kill that with PC. Maybe? Yes. No. Off by 2. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. I should be able to bloodthirsty sword this one, just to death. But anyway, moving on. Oh my goodness. To the important part. I have no damage abilities. Well, while we continue to deal with this, let us move on to the important part, which are changes to various core crew skills. Now, we were teased with this change during the patch preview, and basically, the change is just that any ability that were underperforming or that were not popular, Krafton went in and added some utility. A couple of the abilities they've changed a little bit by, like, you know, removing one thing and adding something else, but most of the abilities just got an additional benefit for using them. And I have a list in front of me. The first one, actually the werewolf got quite a few. The first one for the werewolf is that Burn Up, which was a self buff that gave an HP recovery. I think it's 50% additional HP recovery. So whenever someone heals, you get 50% additional of that heal. And 25% defense. That is now an HP recovery and plus 25% attack instead of defense. They actually removed a lot of defense buffs in favor of attack. Just remember that defense is not a default stat. Most of the defense in the game comes from accessories. So, all in all, that's a good change. More attack is good, as we continue to search for silver keys. Flee, you can't. He can't actually... Oh, he can move up. Yeah. The next change for the werewolf is that Mark of the Wolf. This is the ability that will remove brands from all of your allies and place a brand on yourself. This now also gives the werewolf plus 25% damage reflect, which makes sense. The werewolf is branding itself. Enemies are going to want to attack it. Is that Heinrich? That's Heinrich. I feel like I should save that for last. Heinrich's going to want... Heinrich. Enemies are going to want to attack the werewolf. The werewolf will then reflect it. It works out. So good change. I still don't know if I'm going to use the ability. But at least now it's usable in my mind. The next change for werewolf abilities is target filtering. This is the cooperative ability between the Ronin that will attack all enemies that aren't mesmerized. You're a wop-wop enemy, aren't you? You sure are. This ability will do the exact same thing it did before. However, it will also inflict a 25% evade decrease on all enemies that it hits. So slightly stronger. It requires the Ronin XT. It's this thing. Oh no, you branded the werewolf. Whatever will you do? So that was the last of the werewolf ability changes. The next change on my list is for the Shadow Blade. The Shadow Blade also received a number of changes, which is good. She needed them. The first one on the list is... Ow. The first one on the list is Snake Eyes. This is her single target stun. You can now use Snake Eyes to give one friend plus 25% speed, which is cool. There are a few abilities in the game that already kind of did this, that were both an offensive thing and a defensive thing, so it's cool to see them use that. It might require additional targeting, so if you don't like hitting the button multiple times, it might be confusing because you have to select an enemy to stun and then an enemy to, or an ally to buff, that is. Don't die. Wait, how much does this bleed? That's a 450 bleed. Huh. Do I heal? I think I have to heal this, right? So yeah, good Snake Eyes buff. And on the note of support Shadowblade, that was a 1900 hit. On the note of support Shadowblade, Invisible Throw has received a change. Thankfully, it needed one. And the change is that it will now apply a minus 25% attack debuff to enemies in the row that it hits. Remember, this is the throw. I think, is it a row or a column? I can't remember. But it's the throw from the back line that most people didn't use because it was kind of terrible. It's still kind of terrible, but at least now it has like a debuff purpose, you know? So it's slightly better. The last change for the Shadowblade actually helps out her incredibly offensive build with the, you know, dashing forward and then unleashing power thing. And that is that Hide, which turns you invisible and gives you one stack of gather power, will now, probably shouldn't have hit the kill, will now also move you back one. Move you backwards one tile. Now you might be wondering, why is that useful? That's because you can now move back, become untargetable, and then next turn you can lunge forward with your one ability. Whatever it was called. I haven't played the Shadowblade in a while. So yeah, that's not bad. That is the end of the Shadowblade buffs. I think overall the Shadowblade only got better. I mean, so did the Werewolf. The Werewolf only got better too. But I think the Werewolf didn't need to get better. You know? Werewolf is already good. The invisible guy is okay. Whereas I think the Shadowblade could have used a touch of love. And she did receive some, so no complaints here. Hit me. I need to kill him, like, now. I'm not gonna be able to. Oh well. Moving on to... He spawned us, little friend. To the Paladin, who, fun fact, received the most changes. I think she needed them too. So, not undeserved. Aww. You live with like no hit points. The first change is for Provoke. We talked about this in the preview video as well. Provoke will now, on top of applying defense and taunt, will now also apply speed. A 25% speed increase. Which is fine. Again, my main concern with Provoke... There's an enemy here. My main issue with Provoke is that you're taking a whole turn to taunt yourself. And, compared to the next change, it's kind of questionable still. The next change is for Divine Armor. Divine Armor is the ability that applies a shield that is 30% of your maximum health. This is a very defensive ability. It will now also apply taunt. So now you can apply a huge shield to yourself and then taunt yourself. Which seems pretty good to me. Better than Provoke. Anyway. The next change for the Paladin is that Holy Counter, which applied a damage reflection buff. Anything else? I feel like there was something else to it. But it applies a damage reflection buff. It used to increase your defense by 25%, but it will now increase your attack by 25%. Which, fun fact, doesn't really help with damage reflecting, because that's based off the enemy's damage and not your own. But hey, more attack. The world can always use more attack. It can also use a mountain power, but I'm not complaining much. Is there a flower here? I might have to use my... Oops. Didn't mean to eat, but it was fine. And the last... Ah, yes, this changed. The final Paladin buff... Oops. I didn't even see that. I was reading my paper. The final Paladin buff is for defensive posture. This is a cooperative ability with the Ronin. I don't... What did it do? Did I write that down? It would be smart of me if I did that. Yes, it used to give plus 25% defense to all allies, which again, not horribly useful, because the allies had to have defense accessories equipped, which, if you're playing like I do, half your characters have no defense and all attack, so it wasn't very useful. Now, it will apply a 30% a shield equal to 30% of the Paladin's HP to all allies, which is far more useful. A very defensive ability. I don't actually know how long that shield will last. 1 mountain toughness. Another one to go. I'm not sure how long that shield will last. The shield will last. Maybe it's like a 3-turn thing. Maybe it's a 1-turn thing. Maybe it's until it breaks thing. The world may never know. But if anyone finds out, please feel free to leave a comment so I can know. It's just a chest around. We've seen plenty of them. So that was it for the Paladin. The Paladin has become slightly more useful, I think. The Paladin's one of my least favorites, not because she doesn't have potential. The Paladin has a lot of potential. But it's just that, I think. And this change helped her out a lot, I think, in making her far more defensive. We've used the Paladin in the past to be incredibly defensive, and I think this just makes her a better support, honestly. So if you were into that sort of thing, boom, she's better. The next change is for the Ronin, one of our favorite characters, good old Masabune. Tanking it up for our team. One of them is Strike. I've used it once already. This will now, on top of the damage it does and on top of the brand it applies, it will now give one enemy a 25% speed decrease. It's 35% for us because I'm the best. So Strike now has even more utility if you were into using that. Makes brand builds even better, like as if they needed to be. The Werewolf and the Ronin are already best friends. Now they're just super best friends. Just gonna recover some of my mana. The next one is Lightning Advanced. This is the ability that will move a friendly target forward. Oh, hey, sister. This will move one friend forward and give them 25% attack. I think it is attack. And it will now also give that ally 25% speed. So it's better. We haven't been using that, but if you are encountering instances... I'm not a wolf, I'm a human is what he said. They left out the I'm a human part. Fun fact. If you are encountering a lot of knockbacks, that could be very good. Speed is great, you know? Especially for certain characters. Like, most of them. Next ability is for Swallow Counter. Swallow Counter is the Ronin self buff that applies damage reflect and attack? I can check. Don't use your memory when you can read. Swallow Counter is damage reflect and crit. I was close. It will now also taunt you. So as you can see, give yourself a debuff that increases the chance of being attacked by 66%. So that makes it far more useful, actually. Now you don't have to taunt by some other means, and you can just taunt yourself up while damage reflecting. Which honestly is it sounds like a very samurai thing to do. The next is Showdown. Need to check this ability too, because I've forgotten what it does. Pretty sure it's the self-taunt ability. Yeah, this is the self-taunt that gives 25% evade. It now also, as you can read, gives plus 25% attack. It's very useful when I'm bringing the characters that I'm talking about, because then I can just check. Honestly, I should have written it all down, but so much for that. We already talked about the strike, so we only have a few left. Those are all of the... Well, those are most of the changes. Let's talk about the last few. Next is the Witch. I actually expected the Witch to receive many more changes than she did. Only one ability was changed, and that was Dispel Magic. Dispel Magic will still remove all buffs on the target, but it will now also decrease their speed by 25%. I still don't think it's good. Oh my god. Ow. I still don't think it's a particularly good ability. If you want, and that's only because there's a better version, I think. Like, if you really need to remove abilities, or remove buffs, sure, it'll work. But why would you do that when you can... Ta-da. Please. When you can steal the buff with the Grim Reaper? I don't understand. Much. Can't move. So that's the only change for the witch. I was a little disappointed. I wanted to see changes to her wind spell, whatever that's called, and more. But hey, it is what it is. Oi, I moved Masamune. Oh, whatever. Whatever, I don't care anymore. The next change for the Grim Reaper, it's just one change. The Grim Reaper didn't need a whole lot of changes, honestly. Like, the change to bosses, those bosses that I listed earlier, already help out the Grim Reaper. She didn't need a whole lot. But the change is to collect floating spirits. On top of applying, or giving you a soul point, and on top of giving you speed, it will now also give you 25% hit. And that's... Wait, wait a minute. How do I get over there? What? Anyway, sorry. This is like icing on the cake, really. Putting more icing on top of the cake, because that ability isn't used for its speed increase. That ability is used to gain more souls when you are out of them. So it just made a good ability better. Which kind of surprised me. I thought for sure they were going to change either the stun or the brand, because those were not used very often at all. If at all. But hey, here we are. And the final change is for the sister, and it's my favorite change. It's a great change. And if you were paying attention earlier, which I wouldn't blame you if you weren't, because I don't pay attention, it is a change to Last Prayer. This is the ability that will prevent an ally from dying. The higher the level of the ability, the higher HP it will stop their death at. Like, at level 1 it's 1, but it like increases to like 20 or something, so there was really no point in leveling it up. But now, it will also give one ally continuous HP recovery by 25% of your attack. It is the first heal over time available in MISTOVER, which makes me excited. So now Last Prayer is very good. Not only will it guarantee that you don't die, it will also heal you. I'm a little curious if the continuous HP recovery will go away when you proc the don't die button. I don't actually know the answer to that. But, still, great change. Ta-da, please. Don't... The world is a cruel place. I think I'm gonna have to Last Prayer rune. Oh good, thanks. That makes this a lot easier. It's either Overflowing or Last Prayer rune. Last Prayer rune. Losing Dara would also be terrible, but at the same time, meh. So those were all of the skill changes. I killed that thing through its guard. Did you see? Those were all of the skill changes. Overall, I think there are a few more abilities they could have, tweaked around with, but all in all, great changes all around. Good job. I think they did well. I'm a little confused. Like, of all the sister abilities, they picked Last Prayer, which is already incredibly good. It's one of those situational good abilities, though, and now that they've turned it into a great ability. Again, it's MISTOVER's very first heal over time. Hots are great. So, no more complaining from me. I just would have liked to see something with masochistic pleasure, so I could have said I was right. But oh well. Oh well. You take it and you move on. Wow, almost. Almost. We've set up 2 kills for Rune, assuming she doesn't die here. Or move. Hey, thanks for immobilizing him. Beautiful. Okay. So there are 2 things left for me to talk about regarding the patch. The first one is that, as always, the updates to the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4 will take longer to come out. Steam is always their first to be updated, so if you are playing on the console, just know that the update is coming soon. They said that they're going to have an update in a few days, and I'm pretty sure what they meant when they said that. They probably could have used different words, but I'm pretty sure what they meant was that they'll give you an update in a few days about how long it's going to take, not that there will be an update in a few days. But who knows, maybe there will be an update in a few days. So for all of my console companions, hold out. I believe in you. And now for the final thing. I have a lot of mixed feelings on this, and I still haven't completely come to a conclusion yet on how good or bad this is. Because as I mentioned before, I really enjoy this game. It's a great game. And it was the first game that really... I mean, you could still say my channel is small, right? But it was one of the first games that my channel really succeeded on, I think. You're gonna run away from me, right? You're not gonna attack me? Thanks, bro. Thanks for being a bro. And, I've talked about it before, that there would be DLC for this game. Oops, I didn't mean to use the flower. I mean, I did, but I didn't want to. And, that's because they had talked in the past about DLC coming out via the Steam Workshop. And, unfortunately, that no longer looks like it's the case. I'm not going to touch this yet because I want to read something for you guys. At the very bottom of the patch notes, there was kind of like a fine text, and it said this: Steam Workshop support. We've mentioned that we're considering to support the Steam Workshop. However, during the development process, we altered the overall direction to make the gameplay settings, where each player can edit the specific game settings as they want. Although the gameplay settings are a different feature than Steam Workshop, please kindly understand that our goal is to provide the same gameplay experience in all platforms by adding the gameplay settings. We will constantly update the gameplay settings based on your feedback. Thank you. So what this means, to me, is that they originally intended for Steam Workshop support, which is modding, basically. It just gives people the modding tool so they can make whatever they want for the game. Instead of doing that now, they have implemented the gameplay settings for us to personalize and edit the game. So this doesn't mean there won't be no mods. It just means official mod support is not a thing. Which, again, is kind of heartbreaking. I was really looking forward to mods for this game, but the ultimate overall effect will depend on how much they support gameplay settings, and we'll just have to wait for that. I'll continue talking about it after we wrap up this thing with Heinrich. You wander in the underground cave and suddenly run into a silhouette. It's Heinrich. I've been waiting for you, warriors. He smiles at you. I knew you would come. You grew very strong while fighting your way through the world of mist. You have what it takes to beat fate itself. Warriors, have you ever thought about this world? How it's been created? How it exists? Heinrich stares up into the void. Haven't you thought that maybe someone created it and is controlling everything? Yourself, the world, and even fate itself? What if everything in this world, including ourselves, is just the dream of a supreme being? A mirage that could fade away at any moment. Once, very long ago, even before the first dawn, there was an ancient era where the universe was just empty space. Only one being existed at that time, the Great One. The world is simply an illusion that he designed. Why don't I prove it to you? I will show you why the world is dying and how it was made. There is a hidden dimension that we have never been to. It is there that the god sleeps. But to access this dimension, we need the key that opens the portal leading to it. An ancient ruler, the Elder Emperor, is believed to possess that key. You must obtain it from him. That was a lot to take in, Heinrich. I think the biggest part of that I picked up on, though, is that he said the Great One in English. But anyway. So, back to the whole mod support thing. There's not much more for me to say. I've already said most of what I think is important. While it's disappointing, it doesn't mean that I'm gonna, run away or anything. I still really enjoy MISTOVER. I still really want to play MISTOVER. And we're still gonna finish MISTOVER. It just means that the many ideas, the many times that I talked about DLC and dreamed about it, were all for naught. And hopefully Krafton continues to support MISTOVER through the gameplay settings, no matter what. Also, this is really not taking me where I wanted to go. I thought I could just random RNG my way into the end. So how the heck do I get up here? Oh, there's nothing here. That's how. Haha! I did it! I knew it. I hope I completed the other quest. I totally didn't look at it at all. At all. But everyone leveled up. Mwahaha. We rescued Veronica. She is very pale. Very pale. Okay, we did complete the quest. Whew, close one. Let's take a quick look at what, Ooh. Hello. That's a new ring for Casey. Alright, what do we got here? Guard. Ugh. That toughness is just wasted then. Okay. That would actually be really good on... Maybe not really good, but good on Masamune. But the other one is wasted because... You'll see here. We can now either roll 46 HP or 1 guard. But at least with this one we can... It's HP or evade. I definitely didn't think about that. I mean, it's okay. We have 6 shots. And I'm not really upgrading any other form of armor. I'll think about it. I will give it some contemplation, but first... Hi, Stella. Things first. Let's go turn these in. Yes, we murdered everyone in the subjugation quest. Thanks to your efforts, we were able to take control from the giant albinos and cavemen. Now we will be able to descend deeper underground. Wait, didn't I just go to the bottom? Well done. Thanks, Stella. Thanks for that, too. I needed those. Alright. Heinrich just unloaded a lot of the secrets of the universe on me, and I don't know how I feel. I need to talk about it, Stella. Did you meet Heinrich? What did he have to say? You tell her everything you've learned from Duke Heinrich. So that means the world we're living in was created by someone else, and we've been in the dark for all this time? So far, we have more riddles than answers. Perhaps getting that key will bring us at least one step closer to the truth. I mean, maybe. Hey, a bunch of books. So next time, fight with the Elder Emperor, the 7th boss, and the end of the Frozen Mountains, I presume. I thought for a second this was Mountain Power, and I almost lost my mind. Almost. Maybe this will be good. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, we'll find out next time. Thank you all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you were able to ingest all of the stuff from the patch. I will be leaving a link in the description and in the pinned comment to a link linking to the link for all of the complete patch notes for you to read at your leisure and convenience. Thank you for joining me as we learned all about the universe and the direction of MISTOVER. And I hope you look forward to our combat with the Elder Emperor next time. Bye-bye.